What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and you check out the content. And with that being said, man, every time Rich Paul, every time Rich Paul comes out and Rich Paul makes a statement on uh, LeBron James' behalf, or every time I see Rich Paul on his podcast, man, it just reminds me of when I'm not sure. I think it was at the Soul Train Music Awards, right? And when Suge Knight got on stage and he took a shot at Puff Daddy, right? And he talked about the uh the agent, the representative wanting to be, more famous and bigger than the clients or the stars, right? It just reminds me of that, right? So as a matter of fact, let me play that. Just a,
And one other thing I like to say, any artists out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, and don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row. And one other thing I like to say,
that's the way I think LeBron James should feel, right? He should feel like, uh everything that Rich Paul doing is kind of really like overshadowing him and taken away. So and it almost makes it look like Rich Paul is trying to set himself up, for a career uh separate from LeBron James, because basically everything Rich Paul should be doing should be behind the scenes and directing LeBron James's career, right? Because client the client visibility is it should be his first priority, right? And so when the agent becomes the story, the client's brand gets overshadowed, right? And so once the client's brand is overshadowed, that is like there's only so much attention that can be given, as far as like it's not a finite resource, like it's not a definite ended resource, right? And so once you start to, as an agent, take away from the client's brand, I think you're doing them a disservice, right? So what you should really be doing as a client is preserving their leverage. And in order to preserve the leverage of the client, you have to make the client the number one priority. And with Rich Paul, I don't really see that, right? I see, like, he'll come out and he'll make statements for LeBron James, but a lot of times he's talking about basketball. He's talking about other teams. He's talking about trades. He's talking about business moves. I've seen Rich Paul go on shows like what's that on different podcasts where he talk about business, right? And again, I don't know. Only reason why Michael Jordan's agent is because Michael Jordan was so famous, right? But he didn't do a whole lot of public speaking, even during the time when Michael Jordan was playing. I think he picked it up maybe like after Michael Jordan retired, but he don't do a whole lot of public speaking, right? And if you think about it, like who is Magic Johnson's agent? Most people don't know Larry Bird's agent, or because their job is to preserve the legacy, promote the legacy of their client. Is not to be out there, having a podcast or giving public speeches and stuff like that. Is not that, right? And so now, what show did I saw him on one time a while ago? He was on Earn Your Leisure, and I thought that was cool. It was cool. It was okay, you know. But since he's gone on this podcast, man, I just think he's hurting LeBron James, and not just LeBron James, because it's harder to overshadow LeBron James, because LeBron James is one of the biggest athletes in the world. So it's harder, but it still can be done, right? Because he can build his image alongside of, or his brand alongside of building LeBron James' brand, right? And so that's where you get to the point where it's considered it's called brand or role confusion. And what could happen is you can confuse the fan base and detract from LeBron James, and not just LeBron James, but he has other clients that you can really detract from their role, their image, their legacy. And so agents are really supposed to be strategists. They're supposed to be protectors and not celebrities, right? And so when agents act like stars, it creates confusions about who drives the decisions. Corporations exploit that confusion by minimizing the athletes, and that's a good point, right? So if there's confusion there, you can minimize the athlete. And I see a lot of that. Even though LeBron James is a mega star, like I said, he's one of the biggest celebrities in the world. You can minimize LeBron James his effect on the public, because it's called divide and conquer, right? And so you have LeBron James, who's his brand. Then you have Rich Paul. Seems like he's trying to build his own brand outside of LeBron James, right? And so you can divide those two as an opponent or as another agent. Which agents, and Rich Paul has even complained about it, right? How other agents are coming to potential clients and they're telling them that you don't want to do business with Clutch, because Clutch is, like they have too much going on. They won't make you their primary focus. And so that is the chink in their armor. Rich Paul is more so worried about his brand than even LeBron James' brand. So if you are a potential up and coming new client, it makes it harder for you to sell and promote Clutch Sports when you see Rich Paul so much out in the forefront, doing podcasts, talking about trades and stuff like that, things that can make him seem more polarizing. I think as an agent, what Rich Paul want to do is do his job the best he can do behind the scenes and allow his clients to market for him, right? For instance, say like if someone comes to your house and they do some work, like I recently had a guy come to my house and he did some tree trimming, right? He trimmed the trees. He did a good job and gave me a good price. And so once he was finished, I told him how good a job he did, and I liked the price. And he asked if he could put a sign in our front yard, right? And so if by me being happy with the work that he did, I was like, okay, cool, yeah, you can do that. You can put the sign in the yard and you can advertise. And so that's what it is like. Your past clients should be, or your current clients should be, your biggest advertisers. You should not, as an agent, Rich Paul should not, as an agent, be out there, advertising and be even more famous than his clients. If Rich Paul's clients are satisfied and they like the work that he do for them, then they'll advertise for him. They'll put the word out, and he can use them as references. It's just like any other business deal, any other job. You're able to use these people as references. People, they'll sing his praises for him, and he don't have to do it that way. He can focus on protecting his client's brand, protecting their narratives, because those jobs are full-time jobs, right? And so if you're focused on your client's brand, your client's narrative, then you don't really have time to be doing a podcast and doing a whole bunch of different interviews, because that's a full-time job, right? And that's why I say, like, even LeBron James, as big and famous as he is not really getting the best representation that I think he can get from Rich Paul. As an athlete, LeBron James, in my opinion, has been the model. He's like the kind of client that all agents want. Off the field, off the court, LeBron James is not really caught up in any scandals or anything like that. So basically, Rich Paul's job as a as an agent is just really to direct LeBron James's career. You don't have to. It's not like you have to go behind LeBron James and clean up this different scandal or clean up this mess. It's he's a married man with 3 kids. Don't have the issues that somebody like Ja Morant have. Or somebody like or any of the players. Some players have like baby mama drama or legal issues and stuff like that. So he hasn't had to deal with any of that type of stuff with LeBron James. So, really, there's no way in the world LeBron James should be as polarizing as he is, because of how he conducts himself off the court. And so, yeah, man, I just like I said, I just wanted to touch on that because now you have Rich Paul just making a whole bunch of different statements and stuff for LeBron James. Where at this point in time in LeBron James' career, it should really be on cruise control. They should be setting up and getting ready for LeBron James, his life after the next chapter, right? The next chapter after LeBron James is coming off of the court. But now they it's like they trying to play catch up, and this is not good. It won't end well for LeBron James, right? And so that's my opinion. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, I'm gonna check you all out in the next video. Peace.